Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker shills, debt slaves, serfs, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm a useful idiot. Welcome. And there's a new poll done recently, and I've seen another poll was done uh, several months ago that reveals that a third of Democrats wish that Trump had been killed. And I want to point out, as I always do, that I have no allegiance to Democrats or Republicans. I merely observe this stuff. I have no love for either so-called political party. I think there's one political party with just two halves. And so I know a lot of people struggle with that idea, but my regulars know that about me. So I'm not bringing this up to either support or denigrate either side, just looking at the facts. And I find this really disturbing. And there was another poll, like I mentioned, that was done several months ago that talked about the fact that the predominant number of Democrats think that political violence is justified in certain situations, and particularly when it comes to Trump. And we should all be concerned about something like that, that the idea of political violence and assassinations is becoming normalized, and that we have people that cheer this on. But for me, the sub story is the fact that, of course, after the assassinations, we have the Democrats, both the media and the politicians, talking about that Trump needs to tone down his rhetoric. But I've observed this process all along since he ran for president and Trump was elected president in 2016. That the really violent, harsh, inflammatory rhetoric came from the left, came from Democratic politicians and Democratic media. And so this rhetoric has been going on astonishing levels for the last 7 years. And that is why we've arrived at the point where this kind of political violence is getting normalized. But one of the other things that's interesting about this is the fact that over that whole same period, certainly Trump has been sarcastic. He likes to call people names. He can be pretty brutish, but he doesn't use the same kind of inflammatory existential threat, the next Hitler kind of dialogues that the left uses. And so it gets to the point where I've never really heard any conservatives, politicians, I've never heard any of my liberal friends or my conservative friends, I've never heard conservative politicians, conservative media calling for Biden or Kamala Harris to be assassinated. And so it's pretty perplexing that the left continues to talk about the hate from the right and how hateful MAGA supporters are and how hateful Trump is. And yet it's the left that uses terminology like an existential threat to democracy. They talk about fascism. They talk about Trump being the next Hitler. And they praise the idea of a sitting president or a former president being assassinated, and rather gleefully. So those are my observations on this. So I just find it really disturbing that the idea of political violence is getting normalized, and the fact that the left is so unaware that the portrayal of Trump is so mischaracterized and so exaggerated, and a lot of it is just downright fraud and lies. But that said, it really is to the point where now they're calling for the same thing for people like Elon Musk. Um, this idea that we've gotten to the point where people you don't like and people you don't like their personalities should be killed is pretty disturbing. So I just wanted to talk about that because, like I say, I find it very perplexing that we continue to hear this rhetoric from the left about all the hate on the right, but nobody on the right has ever called for or condones or finds glee in the idea that Biden or Harris would be assassinated. It's only coming from the left. So there it is. I'm useful idiot. Don't you be one too.